story for you, or rather a coming-of-age story about a girl, a dream, and a pair of boots. So when I was 16, what I wanted most in the entire world was to be a drag queen. No, really, I'm not even joking, it's the truth. And I got in my head that if I could just find the perfect pair of shoes, I could make this dream come true. So I'm on the search for these shoes, and I'm looking uptown, downtown, midtown, the East Village, the West Village, and none are fierce enough to transform my grungy, Courtney Love-loving, barrette-wearing, L7 listening self into super drag fab. And then one day I found these amazing shoes. They were knee-high platforms. I'm talking silver sparkles. I'm talking 9 inches. I am talking Ace Frehley territory. Like, these shoes were so awesome that RuPaul herself would have like handed over her wig and been like, girl, you are in. So they were really expensive. I mean, I had a job, but like the $4 an hour I made folding scarves at the thrift store on the weekends was not going to afford me, entry into drag fabdom via these magical stems. So I did what any normal, or not normal, adolescent person would do in this situation. I would go visit them. Like, I would go visit these shoes, like after school, on weekends, on Flag Day, like I would stand there and look at these shoes. I was terrified of going into the store where they dwelled because the women that worked there were these like gigantic Amazon-ish people who looked like extraterrestrial cholas, and they were really mean to people that walked by, so I was really scared to go in. So I would just stand there with my nose pressed against the glass like an orphan in a Dickens novel or some shit. So one night I had just gotten out of a Riot Girl meeting. I was a Riot Girl. And so I walked from the Lower East Side to the West Village to visit my shoes. I was all hopped up on angst and Diet Coke. And I'm standing there, and I'm looking at my shoes, and I'm deep in thought. I didn't even notice the 6-foot-tall woman talking to me. And I look over, and this lady's all like, okay, I'm just gonna apologize now. This is probably why I never became a drag queen, except for obvious reasons. I do a terrible drag queen voice, so just like infer anything you learned from RuPaul's Drag Race, and just pretend I sound like that. So she was all like, those boots were made for walking and not knocking, honey. And I'm like, she's like, when are you gonna bring your fierce ass in here and try those motherfuckers on? And I'm all like, oh my God, I'm gonna run away. She's way too cool for me to talk to. This is, cause see, at this point, like I wanted to be a drag queen, but I'd never actually spoken to one, like let alone looked one in the eye. So I'm standing there, and it dawned on me that she just called me fierce. So being called fierce by a drag queen is like the best compliment you can ever get in your life. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go. So I walk over, and she's like, well, you better hurry up, because it is way too hot for Miss Coco to be standing out here. I am sweating like a whore in church. And first of all, why do drag queens always speak of themselves in the third person? Like, does anybody know? And also, is there like a learning annex, like workshop I can take to like get down with the lingo? Because the stuff that they come up with is just like mind-blowing. So I follow Miss Coco into the one place in New York City that I had at that point not dared to enter. And that place was Patricia Field. Now, again, this was in the 90s when it was really cool and way underground. This is like before this like Sex and the City, Carrie Bradshaw, strawberry necklace wearing bullshit. Like this was like real deal Patricia Field, cool, awesome place. So I walk in, and it's like my dream. Everything is like sparkly and leopard. There was like a couch. It was vinyl, and it was like in the shape of lips. And like the chairs were like stilettos that you could sit on. It was freaking crazy. So Miss Coco looks at me, and she's like, so what's your name, honey? And I'm like, I'm Miss Vickie. And she's like, oh, that's cute, but I'm gonna call you Miss Vic Vicious. And I'm like, did she just give me a fucking drag queen? What are you kidding me? So I'm like, okay, that's awesome. She's like, so what size shoe are you? I'm like, I'm an 8.5. She's like, oh my God, what I wouldn't give for those tiny ass feet. Do you know what they do in China to get those tiny ass geisha feet? And I'm like, no, Miss Coco, what are you doing? It's like, oh, they bind them with like tape and shit. You know, I wish my mama would have thought of that, because then I wouldn't have ended up with these Sasquatch-esque deformities. So she fucking said this. See, learning annex workshop. Somebody needs to hook this up. So she disappears into the back to get the shoes for me to try on. And I'm standing there. I like put on a feathered boa and I'm dancing around to Madonna's Deeper and Deeper, and I'm like in heaven. And she comes back and she had taken off her blonde wig, and now she's wearing like this Maria Antoinette-esque thing that looked like a cake. And I'm like, Miss Coco, what happened to your hair? She's like, oh honey, I got to keep it fresh. And I'm like, all right. And then like, she's like, can I tell you a secret? I'm like, yeah, I love secrets. Tell me a secret. Awesome. So she tears off the wig and she's like, oh, the best thing to be under a wig is peach fuzz. And she has like this crew cut. And I don't know why this was so funny, but both of us just start laughing like hysterically, like two little girls at like a sleepover. And I'm rolling around on the ground with like this drag queen at Patricia Field at 10 o'clock at night in a boa. And I'm like, how did my life just figure out how to get good? I don't even understand. So she's like, all right, you know, she composes herself. She wipes tears of laughter from her fluttering silver eyelashes. And she's like, all right, Miss McVicious, you have some work to do in these shoes. So she takes them out of the box, and I take off my combat boots, and I slip one sweaty foot after the other into the culmination of all of my dreams. And they're awesome, and she's like bent over and she tucks in my fatigue pants, just so, like in that way that only gay men and drag queens can do to make something boring look fabulous. So I look in the mirror and I'm like, holy crap. Like, it was still me, but it was like a better version of me. Like, it was like Ziggy Stardust and Kathleen Hanna had a militant Bjork baby or something. So I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, okay, Miss Coco, how much are these fucking shoes? And she's like, oh honey, they're not for sale. Not for sale. See, now I don't even want to be a drag queen because that's just wrong. So I'm like, okay, they're not for sale. And I look over at her and she's like grinning. She's like, and by not for sale, I mean that I'm going to put them in this here bag and you're going to take them home and you're going to wear them until the platform whittles down to a toothpick. It took me a second to like register what she was saying. And then when it did sink in, I ran over to Miss Coco and I hugged her so hard, I swear to God, I think I ruptured an implant. So we air kissed goodbye, and I promised that I would visit her whenever I was downtown. And I did, because I was now Vic Vicious and I could do whatever the fuck I wanted. So I'm walking to the one train with my 30-pound boots, full of myself and grateful for Miss Coco and her gift. And even though I may never be a bona fide drag queen for obvious reasons, because I'm a girl, at least for a little while, thanks to Miss Coco and those magical shoes, I came really close to kind of looking like one. And so I just want to say thank you, Miss Coco, wherever you are, and I still have those fucking boots.